Good morning, Civic Media Mornings watchers. We are going to be going live in 50 seconds.
Join me, Tom Hartman, each and every weekday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program right here on Civic Media. I talk about the issues that all Wisconsinites can get behind, from unrigging our economy so it works for all of us, not just the billionaire class, to improving our representative government, to delivering on the promise of we the people. Tune in middays right here on your local Civic Media station from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program. Tag, you're it.
Peach Waba.
On the next Nightlight, I'm joined by Hudson Hensley from Song Sung Blue.
15 seconds.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Another big day. Oh, the news never stops, and neither does Jamie. I pull the plug, but Jamie is like our Energizer bunny, searching for things. A little good news, but not as good as the headline would have us believe. It's a nice start. Okay, let's see some more. And I'm talking, of course, about Minneapolis, where Tom Homan announced yesterday that they are withdrawing about 700 federal immigration officers from Minnesota. That's about a quarter of those deployed. It leaves still 2,000 officers in Minneapolis, which is more than their local police force. It seems, okay, it's a nice gesture. That's what it feels like. Okay, look. We're going to negotiate because that's what happened. Homan and Tim Walz and Mayor Fry of Minneapolis, they all got together. They're having some negotiations. And they agreed, Jamie, they will turn over undocumented aliens that they have arrested and are holding in jail. Minnesota will turn them over. And I guess that placated Tom Homan in the short term.
Sure, we'll go with that. I mean, this administration, it's all about placating to this administration. So it would make sense that was the cooperation agreement that they came up with. Now, Homan did say yesterday in a press conference there's not really a timeline for ending the overall operation, though, which is known as Operation Metro Surge. I don't understand why we have to name everything in this administration, but that's okay.
Everything needs adjectives and names. It's
I
like when you're a
digress.
kid and you always have to, you name your fort and you name everything. Everything's got to have a name.
We name everything. This has been previously called the largest immigration enforcement operation ever taking place in Minneapolis. And here's what Homan had to say yesterday. This is cut one.
We want to get back to the normal operational footprint here. But that depends on the people out there putting up illegal roadblocks. That depends on people that want to intimidate and interfere and put hands on ICE officers. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop violating the law and impeding and interfering with us, and they'll draw down be quicker. I still got more discussions to have with some local law enforcement officers looking for their cooperation. The more cooperation we get, the less rhetoric and hate we see, and the less attacks means we can draw down even more quicker.
Even more quicker is not correct
even more
grammar.
Quicker.
Sorry.
I didn't want to pick on him too much, but
I
had to
do.
listen to it a couple times last night. I was like, that's not what we say, but that's okay.
He's blaming the people who are protesting. Yes. That's what it is. If you're nicer to us, we will draw down. It's your fault. It's like telling an abuse victim, well, you mouthed off. That's it's the same
fault.
kind of thing. It's your fault. It's your fault, Minnesota, and it's not.
It absolutely not Minnesota's fault.
If you're a heavily armed, body armor wearing immigration officer who has cans of bear spray and an automatic weapon, and you are intimidated by a mom holding a sign that says F ICE, you're a little too fragile to be in the law enforcement business.
Yes. We've got a text coming in this morning. Lynn, listening on a 93.5, The Tap out of Eau Claire in the Golden Valley area, says that this is a partial lie, since most of Minnesota already was handing over undocumented immigrants who were in jail. So nothing's changed. Homan just said it was changed. And I think that's the interesting part when you do look at the law. She's absolutely correct. This was actually already happening in Minnesota.
Yes.
So really what Minnesota officials did is, as you said, placated. Well, we'll continue to do the thing we're already doing so that you feel better about this operation is essentially, I think, what happened yesterday.
Yes, it's like
in this announcement.
It's like Greenland. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
let you have military bases there.
We already
Well,
have
see,
those,
I
sir.
won. Okay, don't show him the ones he's already got.
That's
and
okay. We don't talk about those. We
No.
keep those under wraps. That's what's happening.
But yeah, state prisons and the county sheriffs were already doing this in Minnesota. They were turning people over, which I'm fine with. If you've got somebody who's a violent criminal,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and they're already in custody, yes, give them to ICE or give them to DHS. I'm
Yes.
fine with that.
I think that
that's
makes
cool.
perfect sense. I don't know if a lot of people would disagree with that way of thinking. And by the way, if you want to chime in on the conversation this morning, 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. You can call or text. Now, obviously, this operation has been a bit of a flashpoint since the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy during those encounters with the federal officers. The residents have protested the presence of the masked, heavily armed agents, citing the aggressive enforcement tactics. Now, President Trump, interestingly enough, said that he ordered the reduction, suggesting a softer touch may be needed, but also emphasized that immigration enforcement will continue. Well, thank you for that, Mr. President. We appreciate it.
Just like a line out of Hamilton, and I will send, and I'm paraphrasing, heavily armed divisions to remind you of my love. A softer
Yes.
touch. Thank you, dear leader.
It's
Da, 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 da.
Thank you, Parker. Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry did welcome this partial drawdown. They're calling for the entire operation, though, to end and for state-led investigations into the killings. Now, here's the interesting part that I find, because always with this administration, there's some contradictory viewpoints, right?
Yeah.
Vice President J.D. Vance actually came out after this Homan press conference yesterday and said that the officers being withdrawn were mainly providing security and insisted that enforcement is not actually scaling back. That's not what we're doing. Even though Homan says additional reductions will only happen if cooperation continues and protests stop interfering with arrests, and did call it a drawback of 700 troops.
And the
700
president said
agents.
it was a reduction.
Right.
So
And now
where's
JD Vance is like, no, it's not actually a reduction. That's not what we're doing. These were lower level people that were just offering some support. Okay.
Well, JD had a day yesterday, Jamie. Besides this, he also was in an interview, and you saw the president dress down Caitlin Collins again, because God forbid a woman. These women with their questions and their opinions and their strong personalities, why don't they just smile?
Well, we should smile more. That is absolutely what we should
especially
be doing.
when
Yes.
you're talking about girls who were sexually assaulted. That's a
Right.
time to really grin it up.
Right.
And that's basically what JD said. What he said, well, the president was right. People should smile more, have a little fun. And it's like, dude, she's talking about children being raped. How much fun is that, JD? I know you have an affinity for upholstered furniture, but that's different.
This is why JD should not speak. I mean, honestly, and I don't say that sarcastically, but every time he speaks, he does things like this. He says things that are, and maybe that's the intention. Is that what he is? Because every vice president and every administration is considered to have some sort of role, right? Because they're a vice president, and, you watched President Biden send Kamala Harris to handle the border situation,
Right.
which obviously,
did
during the
not
last
do well,
election,
yeah.
nope, they picked up on that. And so is JD Vance's role here to be the like attack dog? Is he like the male version of Caroline Leavitt? Because I often wonder that. Is that what his role is here?
And I wonder if that's his assigned role or if that's the role he's putting on, figuring someday Donald Trump will not be here and I will be the face of the party.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if when Donald Trump goes, that's going to be the truth. I don't think J.D. Vance will be elevated to where he thinks he will go.
I would actually be interested to see how many Trump voters actually like J.D. Vance or support him as the vice president. Because if Trump is on a ticket, obviously the Trump voters are all in. But we've seen this happen, especially elections here in Wisconsin, where when he is not on the ticket, he's not on a ballot, the Trump voters don't show up quite as much. So I would be interested to see if they actually like J.D. Vance and if they could support him if there is no Donald Trump on the ticket with him. I think that would be an interesting conversation to have with Trump voters. And, and maybe it's whoever's going to carry out the same philosophy. And I totally understand that as well. But I think it would be interesting to see if it is actually the draw of Donald Trump or if J.D. Vance can bring them into the fold once he's not on a ballot somewhere.
Well, it's all going to depend on the leadership once Donald Trump is gone, because the reports all say that Don Jr. and everybody else who's rumored to be being groomed for office loves J.D. Vance, was instrumental in getting his father to put J.D. Vance on the ticket.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I'm laughing to myself right now because I'm just trying to envision Don and Eric doing anything. Anything at all. Like, I'm trying to envision it at all. I never want to pick on a president's children, except these are grown adults.
Are not.
These are
these are not
adults.
Children. These are
adults. Right. That's the difference. But at the same time, and how often do we actually know a president's adult children? Like, honestly, think about that for a minute.
No, if they're not kids who are living in the White House that you see, at family events and stuff. But man, he pushed those people are front and center.
I don't know why we
know
so much
who's
about
disappeared
Don and
a lot? Ivanka.
Ivanka has,
Ivanka has disappeared.
Yes, Ivanka.
She's on the golf course.
She is. She is.
Absolutely. They all sound the same.
They do. They actually do. You know what it makes me long for, though? This is
John Kennedy.
John Kennedy. I was even going to say George W. Like, this makes me long for the days of George W.
You remember when the biggest thing was the twins had a drink at college? It was like, oh, scandalous. Really? Yes, Parker, clutch your pearls.
Yes,
because
I clutch my pearls.
young women in college that may not have been 21 had a drink and tried to ditch their Secret Service.
Who would have ever guessed?
Terrifying.
You guys are awesome back there on the board, right there, always with the right appropriate moments. When it comes to the troop withdrawal, though, as we go back to our original conversation, as I'm sitting here thinking, and we were talking through this administration and some of the, I don't know, whatever you want to call is happening. I do have a final question, though, right? If we're watching a withdrawal of 700 agents, my question is, where are they going next? Because they're not sending them home, not with a $50,000 signing bonus and what this administration intends on doing with their ICE agents. So I guess my concern at this point, going back to the original conversation, isn't just about Minnesota. It's about what this administration's priorities are and whether this partial pullback is really just a pause or the first step towards enforcement somewhere else.
Well,
that's what I keep going back to.
It's an interesting question. If you listen to what the president said yesterday, and we'll talk about the push to nationalize elections, 15 places. And we could pretty much enumerate those now. My guess would be, based on what's happening, if there are any protests in Georgia starting over the ballots being taken and all the election materials being seized, that would be where he'd send them to Atlanta.
I think so. And I think that's going to be one of the first stops. And I think this administration is not great with their plans. They're very open with their plans. So as they move through and start mentioning, as the president starts mentioning places, I think that's where we're going to start seeing a lot of these agents end up. But that's the first thing that came to my mind yesterday is, whoa, you're withdrawing 700. So they're obviously not going on vacation. Where are you sending them next? That was what came to my mind. So it unfortunately, I think we're going to have these conversations a lot.
Anywhere there is dissent, it's like Tom Joad. If there's dissent, I'll be there.
Yes. It is 6:19 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian New. When we come back, Wisconsin's Joint Finance Committee is trying to undo the 400-year-old veto. Or the 400-year veto. Civic Media Radio Network.
Mad City state of mind.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Reading aloud to children sharpens their listening skills, expands their vocabularies, and nurtures a lifelong love of reading. That's why Reading is Fundamental, the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit, offers free monthly read-alouds by popular authors through its Rally to Read program. Visit rallytoread.org to watch the read-alouds and discover exciting reading activities for school and home. Visit rallytoread.org today.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? My name's Joel Clayfish, and this show is all about the great outdoors of the great Midwest. I have the joy of steering the ship across every lake in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Ellie Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
My Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But early detection allowed us to take control of the situation together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor.
15 seconds until we're back.
Right now. Good morning, Oshkosh and Appleton, listening on WISS, also WRCE, Richland Center. We are glad you're joining us. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and if you want to get involved, we'd love to hear your opinion on this. Where do you fall on the 400-year partial veto? The Republicans in the Joint Finance Committee voted to advance the proposal, which would undo Governor Evers' 400-year partial veto, which is tied to school funding. If you want to answer that and get involved in the conversation, 855-75-CIVIC. That's 855-752-4842. Yeah, it was. They voted along party lines, Jamie, which will be no surprise. And the proposal would remove the $325 per student annual revenue limit increase for schools starting in the 2027-28 school year. So we've been talking about this a lot. And
we have. This is going to be a big topic over at the Capitol this year. The increase actually stems, for a little back history for anybody who doesn't know how we got here, stems from the 2023-2025 state budget, where Governor Evers used the partial veto authority to extend the funding provision all the way to the year 24-25. Because remember, in a partial veto here in the state of Wisconsin, all you have to do is cross out a couple numbers, and you can take 2024 and 2025 to make it 24-25. It's one of the most liberal, let's say liberal, veto authorities that any governor in the country has, and we have that here.
A lot of leeway for the governor to just a little.
By the way. This was a move that was actually upheld by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So they said that the governor was well within his legal rights as governor of the state to make this particular move. And now the Republicans, again, along party lines, want to undo this. They argue that that veto locked Wisconsin into a one-size-fits-all funding policy for 4 centuries and also helped drive up the rising property taxes. GOP members of this particular committee say that undoing it is is a necessary step toward meaningful property tax relief. As you can imagine, Brian, the Democrats do not agree. They see
No.
it very differently. They're arguing that property taxes rose in part because the last budget did not include new general school aid, which traditionally will help ease the burden on local taxpayers. Instead, lawmakers agreed to boost special education reimbursements, which they agree is also very much needed in our school districts, but it put a squeeze on homeowners by doing it that particular way. I think this is going to be interesting. And I mean, honestly, if you take a look at what's happening at the Capitol, Republicans on the Joint Finance Committee voting to do this really, they had the opportunity to increase the general school aid already, which is one of the most direct ways of easing the pressure on property tax payers.
Yes, everybody knows that.
But they left it on the table and it went flat, and property taxes still went up. And now the same lawmakers are pointing to those increases as justification to roll back school funding authority, which...
Well, it's always easier to blame somebody else than take responsibility for what you've done. And that is what they have done. And that's what forced the governor to use the power that he has legally. It's on the books. If you don't like it, okay, that's fine. And I have some issues with it. I don't think anybody should have that kind of power
It's
to
unusual.
say, oh, it is very unusual. But back to your point, yes, everybody in all the school districts that have to vote on these referenda every year, every election cycle, we see it. People are tired of it. People can't afford it. Well, most people, though, will also say, we do need to fund schools. So if you're a Republican on the Joint Finance Committee, where is that money coming from? You don't want to dip into the surplus because you want to save that for something down the road. You don't want to increase property taxes to pay for it.
Right.
You have to. You have to have school funding. There's no way around it. So you have to decide, if you're holding the purse strings, what pocket do you want to pull the money from?
Right.
And they're not doing it.
And with this 400-year veto, right, one of the things that I keep going back to in my own head is just by undoing it, it's not going to magically lower anybody's property tax bill. It's just going to limit what our schools can actually do in the future. And so Republicans arguing that more money doesn't equal better outcomes, but that may be true in this broader sense. But if you're starving the schools of predictable funding while also complaining about higher property taxes, that isn't fiscally responsible. You're just playing politics right now. That's all you're doing. You're not actually trying to help average people and homeowners.
It's a shame, but that seems to be more the rule than the exception, where we're not in the business of helping. We're in the business of politics and keeping our power, keeping our job, and to hell with everybody else. And
right.
This is a problem that's not going away. Look at test scores. Look at people's educational level. Talk to people and see why schools are important.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest for just a moment. If either party is being sincere in this particular conversation, then and really wants to use part of the $2.5 billion surplus for relief for our schools, if that's actually sincere, then this conversation needs to turn more about how to responsibly fund the schools and lower the property taxes at the same time. And it shouldn't be about relitigating a veto that's already been settled in court. And I say that to Democrats as well, because you also have, I get that there's a majority here in the state with GOP, but at the same time, you also have responsibility to your constituents. And so it needs to be less about the politics and actually about some relief, because I think everybody's tired of voting on referendums every time they go to the ballot box.
Every time.
Every single time.
And I get people who've owned their homes for a long time and their kids are all grown and they're like, why do we have to keep, you want to fund schools, but at some point you're like, oh my God, my kids haven't been in school for 25 years and every election cycle I got to pay more and more and more. This is nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. And when we come back, we've got a lot of text rolling in about various subjects, so we'll get to those. It is 6:29 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Thanks for being with us. We're going to talk about Fulton County a little bit. Let's head south on the Civic Media Radio Network.
where the cheese is sharp and the vibes are chill.
This report brought to you by Downdren's Distilling, a destination craft distillery focused on creating unique spirits. Online at downdrens.com or visit the tasting room in Cottage Grove.
A flurry of action in the soybean markets yesterday caught farmers' attention. But why? I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Thursday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news. We'll try to get to the bottom of that next.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, says the sudden spike in soybean prices we saw yesterday triggered in part by, you guessed it, the president and China.
President Trump came out on Truth Social today, put a post in that he had a phone conversation with President Xi from China. He asked him to pick up another 8 million metric tons of soybeans through the marketing year. So that would take the total from 12, which they have now purchased, up to 20 million metric tons. Now through the marketing year means by the end of August. But the soybean market, obviously in our modern market with the computer trading, the algorithm trading, things of that nature, bought that news aggressively.
There you have it. John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend. Now, did that conversation between the world leaders stick in overnight activity? We'll check the numbers next.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
So let's specifically go to soybeans on a Thursday morning. Right now, an overnight electronic trade. March soybeans are still up 11 cents at 11.03. November new crop up 3 at 10.91. The corn for March is unchanged at 4.29. December new crop down a half, 4.56. March wheat in Chicago is up 2 right now at 5.28. July new crop up a penny at 5.48. Yesterday, the barrel cheese gained 3 cents at 1.44. 40-pound block cheese was up 2 1/4 at 1.42 3/4. Double A butter on Wednesday up 2 3/4 cents to $1.60 3/4 per pound. The March Class 3 milk that goes into cheese is down 4, $16.94 a hundredweight. April's down 4, $17.30 a hundredweight. There's your market snapshot on a Thursday. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Pam Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza, your catering expert. Host your party in their gorgeous Sun Prairie location or a venue of your choice. SugarRiverPizza.com.
A little lingering light snow this morning, then it's just going to be mostly cloudy today with a high right around 34 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a little bit of light snow late tonight. Our low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 35. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 20.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders.
15 seconds until we're back.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's 6:35. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. A lot of people texting in on some of the things we've been talking about, and you can too. You can also call if you want your dulcet tones to be on our show. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Let's go. Let's Mark from Prairie-du-Sac says, if the Republicans adequately funded schools as the state constitution requires, the $325 wasn't to come from local funds, but from state funds. So, and he says we shouldn't forget that the Wisconsin idea for education was to produce citizens, not just labor. Yes. But citizens think. Citizens have ideas.
Yeah, we don't want them to have ideas. That gets dangerous when people have ideas.
Mm-hmm. Look what happened when we let the ladies vote.
That's right. We ruined the whole thing. We
Said every
ruined it all.
Republican.
Everything was going wonderfully until we let those women vote.
And can I just, in case you're just joining us for the first time and thinking, what kind of animal is Jamie working with? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, and it's obvious. When you hear me do a voice like that,
we would be working together if you actually thought that.
And
if you
hear that voice, that's the uneducated goofball. Hey, William sent us a text. He's a new listener from Richmond Center.
He is. He's listening on WRCE. We were talking a little bit earlier about some comments J.D. Vance made on the Minnesota ice drawdown. And he says, I'm a senior citizen who remembers Ronald Reagan's VP. I think Mr. Vance is really JDQ Vance. Yes, that is J. Dan Quayle Vance. I think J.D. will follow in the footsteps of Dan Quayle as the Trump era finally ends. And then thanks us for our work on the news. Thank you so much for the text this morning, William. We appreciate it.
I had not thought of Dan Quayle in forever. Don't you wish we could have a day where our biggest scandal was J.D. Vance misspelling potato?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be nice to just go,
amazing.
oh,
or if somebody
we could
trotted out in a tan suit. Or if
yes.
somebody trotted out in a tan suit, those
Tan
were our biggest
suits.
scales.
And we'd just, we'd laugh and make fun of them, and it would be
Simpler
lighthearted because it didn't carry the weight of, the president trying to usurp the Congress and the Constitution and nationalizing elections, which seems to be what's happening. It's what's happening is the first step toward that in Georgia. Georgia officials yesterday filed a sealed federal court challenge seeking to return of election records, which were seized by the federal agents in the Fulton County warehouse where they've stored everything. The chairman said the county will use, quote, every resource to protect ballots and election materials. And the fact that people are not more outraged by this and that the media is not raising more of a stink about this. And I'm tired of the media using soft language, trying to restructure the way elections are handled. No. We're trying to nationalize and take control of elections.
Well, let's hear from the Fulton County Commission Chair Rob Pitts, because he didn't hold back on what this actually means as far as lawfulness. So this is cut 2, please.
I committed to the voters of Fulton County and the world, for that matter, that we will use every resource at our disposal to fight for their vote, and that we will fight using all resources against those who seek to take over our elections. Our Constitution itself is at stake in this fight. And I want to repeat, the Constitution is the law of the land. The Constitution is not a suggestion.
I mean, yeah.
I want to get that as a T-shirt.
Right.
And I mean that sincerely.
Yes.
The Constitution is not a suggestion. We should show shirts. Hello, Civic Media.
Yes.
I'll write
merch.
All right, producers, write that down, please, because you and I won't remember it.
And I could listen to Rob Pitts talk all day, just on a purely superficial note. He's got just enough of that Southern gentleman accent to not sound like Gomer Pyle, but to sound like he's just sitting on a veranda and giving you a little bit of a lecture about how things are going to go.
I'll be honest, because of his voice, I listened to the entire 20-minute press conference.
I'm like, ooh, this guy's hypnotic.
He is. He really is.
But his message does carry weight. It is actually correct, and it's nice. Well, Georgia has stood up to Donald Trump since the first term. So good on Georgia for another true purple state.
Well, and Sheriff Pitts is asking the federal judge to actually unseal the affidavit used to justify the search and to return the ballots and other materials taken from the site. Now, what I think is really interesting is because obviously this operation was unusual, to say the least. And it drew a lot of scrutiny because Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard was present during the search at the president's request. And then later, this is the part that I guess I missed in the story. She later facilitated a call with the president where he thanked the FBI agents.
Well,
I missed that part of the story in
I
the
did
first
too.
go around.
It wasn't that when she was on the phone peeking around the corner like Natasha calling Boris.
Did they find the squirrel? Or did they find the moose and the squirrel?
You must get some moose and squirrel. Rocky and Bullwinkle Aquarium. Look it
Kind
up.
of feel like that's where we're at with people dressing up and showing up at locations. But I think that's odd.
I missed that call too. And it's.
I mean, at this point, where do we draw the line? And I get we're talking about this administration, but our intelligence agencies, our federal agencies, our intelligence agencies, our law enforcement agencies are supposed to be separate from the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if the president is actually calling and talking to these agents, this line is completely blurred. And no, I'm not naive. I've known it's been blurred for a really long time. But this just shows how blurred we actually are right now and where there is no distinction between this administration and these basically independent agencies.
He has been allowed to make them his own personal agencies.
They're props right now.
Everybody answers to him. That's not how the system was set up. I have no problem when a president calls the SEALs and congratulates them on an operation because he is the commander in chief. That makes sense. You are not, as a president, you are not in control of all of those agencies or the Justice Department or really anything else. You have the final say with your veto and that kind of stuff. But Congress.
This is literally making our independent agencies props in political grievances because you lost an election 6 years ago. That's what this is. That's all this is right now. And that appearance matters. And even if we don't think it is, we cannot get numb to the fact that this is happening because this is not normal. This is not what the Constitution says. This is not what our laws say. And we cannot be numb to the fact that the president is calling to thank these FBI agents for doing a raid on an election that has been basically, how many court cases have there been where this is set? They've told this man, you did not win the election. It was not fraudulent. Nothing nefarious happened. You just didn't win.
But I believe I won. I believe I won. No, it's this is where we need everyone to speak up. This is where I look at all the people out protesting across the country, and I'm thinking, good. And our voices do carry weight.
Yeah.
What we need are our leaders to really step up. And I'm not talking about in the federal, in the administration. They're never going to speak up. They're locked and loaded. Their noses are firmly placed where their noses have to be. And I'm not confident in all of our Democratic leaders. I think it's got to come down to state level, and you see governors standing up, Governor Walz, Governor Evers, Governor Pritzker, Governors Newsom.
Yep.
And then you've got people like Commissioner Pitts in Georgia.
Yep.
This is where the resistance really is going to come. And we need the media. I'm talking to you, my brothers and sisters in journalism. You have to stop using soft language. You have to call things what they are. We need to, and we could do it with the Epstein files. These weren't women that we're talking about. They're girls. They're children. We need to say that. We need to say that this is in Georgia an unconstitutional, illegal activity.
Yeah.
It is not under the purview of the president, and we need to use that language. And the more the message gets out, and I'm not talking about just made up messages like we get from the administration. cite the Constitution. Tell people. It's like what we do, and we try to lighten it a little bit so it's not heavy-handed with the civics lessons. People need to be reminded. We need this hammered home.
Yes.
And I think the more we hammer this message home, the better a chance that it will get through to people who may be on the fence now, starting to doubt the direction that this country is going in. And once they learn facts, that could influence how they make their decisions going forward.
I mean, honestly, for me, it's if you want to protect democracy, if you want this country to move forward and have any chance after this administration, this is really about saying enough is enough, right? Because elections don't belong to one candidate. They don't belong to one party. They don't belong to one administration. They belong to the voters. And no amount of raids or recycled conspiracy theories should be allowed to rewrite the voters' will and what they chose at any given time in any given election. And I'll be honest, I mean, there have been elections that, I've sat back and we're like, maybe in just the past few years where I've been like, really? This is what we chose?
Yep.
But at the same time, I didn't sit there and say that the elections were fraudulent. I didn't say that people's votes shouldn't be counted. It is what it is, and it's unfortunate. And I know that we don't always like the candidates that are being elected, but at the same time, we cannot continue to walk out all of these old conspiracy theories and say that we need to examine this and we need to do this. And this is why they do it, though, right? Because it sows that seed of doubt. Because now, if you're going to go vote in the midterms, will my election count? Will my vote count? Will this election even matter? Hoping to dissuade people from actually showing up and standing in the damn line for hours on end so that they can cast a vote, right? Because they want people to be upset and they want people to think that these things don't matter, and they do. These things matter, and it's your constitutional right to cast that vote, no matter what this administration tries to tell us.
Exactly right. We've got to get out there. You got to do it. And I know it sounds trite, but it is not. I would love to talk to a Trump voter, and you're probably not listening, but if you are, we'd love to hear from you. 855-75-CIVIC, because what I want to know is, what is it about, as we look around the world and we see countries that are under authoritarian regimes where one person basically takes all your choices away and you vote, but it's just for show. It doesn't really matter because these people are staying in power. What is it that makes you think that's a better system than what we have? Because I don't see it, but I'd be interested to hear. And seriously, I'm not arguing. I'm just like China. What are the citizens in China? How are they better off than we are? Where do you think this is going to go?
Right. Yeah. And when Pitts is standing at a podium basically warning us that Georgia election officials could be arrested, that goes beyond intimidation. Right. And again, that's the goal. They want you to feel like that. And that's not what this country was based on. It is 6:48 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. We're talking Muppets in just a few minutes,
Thank
right?
God, yes. And the question is, what was your favorite TV show as a kid? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. We need a little breather, and we're going to take it next on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX is your home for real news and great conversation for Madison. Learn more at WMDXradio.com.
It's the Eco Minute, powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. A new nuclear power plant is being planned on the site of the old Kewanee Nuclear Power Station in the town of Carlton. The plant was closed 13 years ago and still has radioactive waste stored on site near the shores of Lake Michigan. We Energies insists more nuclear power is needed to serve skyrocketing energy demand as AI data centers move into Wisconsin. The proposal comes after the Trump administration exempted new nuclear reactors from environmental review. It's time to check out our state parks. Libraries across Wisconsin are offering free passes to our state parks for a 6th straight year. The program allows library card holders to check out a vehicle pass for a day visit to any state park, forest, or recreation area that requires vehicle admission. Right now on the Defender podcast, the painful lesson we're all going to learn this month about natural gas. Listen at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Would you like to contact Congress and let them know your views about issues that are important to you? Leave a message for your U.S. representative or your senator by calling the Capitol Switchboard at 202-224-3121. Phone lines are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Standard phone rates may apply. To send an email, go to senate.gov or house.gov for more information. A public service message from the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Time to get your learning on. There's no shortage of things to be learning about. What's going across all of the cities right now with ICE protests or people in support of immigration enforcement. The push for public school reform, here's an opportunity to craft a very pro-public school, democracy matters platform.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Angela Bassett. For 33 million Americans, one bite can cause a life-threatening reaction. Now, there's a needle-free option for epinephrine. Learn more at foodallergy.org/ready-to-act.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count.
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 6:52 right now. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. How can you not be happy when you hear the Muppets theme? And we will talk about the Muppets in just a moment. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Yes, we ask you to call in. And the question for right now, what was your favorite TV show when you were a kid? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. And we want you to know that your voices are heard. So some of the texts that have been coming in when we were talking about the 400-year partial veto and the Fulton County things. First, Roger in Stevens Point says, because of this mess, we have been funding not one but two pre-K through grade 12 school systems. Most people are not aware this academic year that bill is $700.7 million. They defend choice or voucher schools that receive our tax dollars, don't have to follow the same mandates, transparency, or accountability as required of our public schools. John weighs in on that issue as well. He's in Oshkosh. The millions sent to voucher schools would help. Crazy idea, I know. That whole separation and state the founders harped about.
And we've got Ron in Janesville chiming in this morning, Scott saying this morning, reading the wrong window over here. The future of the United States is where states start compacts, and we just removed the federal government responsibility. Scott in Madison, listening on WMDX. Thank you for the text. And we also have Jim from Campbell Sport chiming in this morning saying, fear sells. He's listening on WAUK. Thank you so much for the input this morning. And if you want to get in on the conversation, or even tell us what your favorite show was as a kid, or even, maybe as a young adult, we'd love to hear from you this morning. 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. The Muppets are back.
I was, Jamie, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you I could not have been more excited to watch The Muppet Show last night.
Yeah.
It was on ABC. If not, it's on Disney Plus. But it's a half-hour one-time special. They're trying to see if there's an appetite for The Muppet Show. And it was, if you watch The Muppet Show back in the day, which was on in the 70s, Parker, that was a time before cell phones, before streaming.
There was no internet.
They
No
put
internet.
a children's
This sounds
puppet
like a
show
horrible time.
in prime time. It was a lovely time.
It was such a good time.
It was wonderful. The half hour I spent, my wife and I watched it together. No kids in the house. The dogs didn't care. We were laughing like imbeciles. It was so much fun. everybody was there. Kermit, Miss Piggy, Gonzo, Fozzie. They were all there. They were a scooter, trying to run the show. And it was just wonderful.
I have not gotten to watch it yet. We were talking a little before we went on the air today. The Muppet Show is a favorite of ours. My husband may or may not have purchased an entire 300 VHS tape collection at one time from Time Life Warner. Remember when they used to have those 3-hour infomercials on at night? Yeah, so we have not had a chance to watch it. We fully intend on doing so this weekend using our Disney Plus, streaming service. Now, this is part of the franchise's 50th anniversary celebration, and I know you watched it because, obviously, who doesn't want to watch this? Sabrina Carpenter part of this, right?
Yes, Sabrina Carpenter was on, and I know who Sabrina Carpenter is. I know some of her music. I thought she did a nice job, and I will say we were theorizing yesterday as we were talking about this. If there was going to be, some subversive jokes for adults.
Sure.
There was one. And I'm not going to spoil it for you because you're going to watch it. There was one that kids would not get. Adults would definitely get it. And there was the usual Muppet banter. So there were jokes and ball breaking going on throughout the show. But Sabrina had one line to Kermit, and I'll just leave it there. I don't want to spoil it.
I'm excited. Now, in case you're wondering, this project is executive produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and then also members of the Jim Henson Company. So very, very excited for this. Rogen usually when he puts his stamp on something, it's usually very well done.
And you know what's nice? He was in there 2 very short times.
Nice.
Very nice. Maya Rudolph has a nice little cameo in there.
Awesome.
It was great. A lot of Jamie, we could talk about politics all day, and people are like, we're tired of it. We talk about what's your favorite TV show as a kid. Here we go. The text flying in. Steven is in Mount Horeb. He says Gilligan's Island was his favorite show. Who didn't love Gilligan's Island?
Come on now. Everybody loved Gilligan.
Can we turn our attention to the boy Aquarium for a second? Because we actually got a message from our own Parker. He watched a lot of Hogan's Heroes. Do you think a show about funny Nazis could be made today? Funny Nazis in a prison camp?
No, I'm pretty sure that would not.
We loved it because the Nazis were the doofuses.
Yes.
It was great.
It was great.
Lynn in Golden Valley chiming in on listening on 93.5 The Tap. She says Johnny Quest and Sheehan. Or
I know Johnny Quest. I don't know who. I don't know Sheehan.
I don't either. Maybe I have to be honest. I was thinking about this. Some of my favorite shows growing up as a kid. I loved
McNeil Lair News Hour.
No, Murphy Brown though was on my all-time favorite list. By the way, hello. And I also loved Hee Haw. Do you guys remember Hee Haw? Oh my gosh,
Lynn likes Hee Haw too. She spelled it 3 different ways, but she loved Hee Haw too.
And that one is very special to me because my grandpa lived with us for a while. So every Saturday night, I got to stay up extra late, and my grandpa and I would have hot chocolate and popcorn, and we would snuggle by the fire, and we would watch Hee Haw together. So I don't actually think it was the show. I think it was just being able to hang out with my grandpa, who I was so incredibly close to. I will also say that I will always have an affinity, and I think this would top a lot of people's list. I will always have an affinity for Golden Girls. I don't care how old those episodes get.
Okay.
I will always have an affinity for Golden Girls. Who doesn't love a little Sophia Petrillo in their life? We should all have a little Sophia in us, by the way.
A little bit. I love the Partridge Family because I had such a crush on Susan Day. As I was in like 7th grade. She was right about that age. I was like, oh, Susan Day, Lori Partridge, hubba.
Yeah. Now, do you have a favorite Muppet character, though?
Animal, 100%. Animal followed closely by Fozzie.
Okay. I would say Miss Piggy and the Swedish Chef. Because he gets to just walk around and mumble things and everybody thinks he's awesome. It's 6:59 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. I am Jamie Martinson.
And a big shakeup in the news. We want to know where you get your news, other than here, of course, on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. With the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie still missing, she and her siblings have now spoken publicly.
We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Police believe that Nancy Guthrie, who's 84, was kidnapped from her Tucson, Arizona area home. Several hundred miles north of there, a police helicopter has crashed in Flagstaff, Arizona, killing both people on board. Police radio calls captured by Broadcastify.
Is there a fire resulting from this crash? See the scene too well. All I can see is a little bit of lights. I can't see any smoke or fire. 13, there is definitely a fire. I was able to see it.
The chopper was called to help investigate a shooting. Talks between Russia and Ukraine just ending in Abu Dhabi. This is ABC News.
This report brought to you by Chad's Design Build, a full-service residential remodeler providing thoughtful, sustainable, and well-built spaces since 1992. Chad'sDesignBuild.com.
For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. Democratic state lawmakers are proposing a constitutional amendment to solidify the right to privacy for Wisconsin residents. If it's adopted, the amendment to the state constitution would shift the legal burden of proof in privacy violation cases from the individual to the government. Under that adjustment, government agencies would be responsible for justifying how it had the authority to violate an individual's privacy rights rather than the individual being required to prove that a government agency violated those privacy rights. Democratic state lawmakers have also introduced separate legislation that would allow residents to file a lawsuit over privacy violations in state court, regardless of whether the subject of that lawsuit is a state or federal government agency. That proposed bill is currently being reviewed in committee. Democratic state lawmakers are hoping the proposed constitutional amendment will gain bipartisan support. It must pass in both the state assembly and Senate in 2 consecutive sessions before it appears on a statewide ballot for voters to approve. Former Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan is asking a federal judge to grant her an acquittal or a new trial following her felony conviction. Dugan's defense team filed the request last week, claiming she acted within the law and that jurors received inconsistent guidance during deliberations. A jury convicted Dugan of felony obstruction in December for helping a man in her courtroom evade an immigration arrest. Jurors cleared her of a separate misdemeanor charge tied to concealing someone from discovery and arrest. Dugan resigned from the bench earlier this year as the case continues through post-trial motions. For Civic Media News, I'm Lisa Hale. For news anytime, visit our website at civicmedia.us.
Can the Bucks make it 3 in a row? Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports NBA. The Bucks are at home again tomorrow night. They'll host the last-place Indiana Pacers. The Bucks with a 141-137 overtime win over the Pelicans last night. Kevin Porter Jr. with 18 points, back after missing 6 games with a strained oblique.
Yeah, I mean, I've been out. It's been a tricky year individually with my health, and I've been on and off the court, so I definitely just been fighting to get back and trying to stay available for my guys so we can continue to build.
NFL, we're at Super Bowl 60 all week here in San Francisco, and I caught up with Jordan Love last night at a youth football game. I asked Love if he wants more ownership of the offense heading into his 4th year as the starting quarterback.
More ownership of the offense? I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the offense and what we do, and definitely have a lot of say in what we do, and I think me and Matt are on the same page with what we're trying to get done. I feel very comfortable with what we do as an offense, and I think we have a great system.
That's the Packers' Jordan Love with sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
This report brought to you by Serenity Pet Spa, with award-winning dog grooming where every pup is treated with love, care, and patience. 3 locations around Madison. SerenityPetSpaMadison.com.
A little lingering light snow this morning, then it's just going to be mostly cloudy today with a high right around 34 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a little bit of light snow late tonight. Our low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 35. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 20.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, Get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Pete Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I'm joined by Hudson Hensley from
15 seconds until we're back.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. If you're listening in Wausau on WXCO, we appreciate it. Maybe you're listening on 93.5 The Tap in Eau Claire or on WLCX in La Crosse. We are so glad that you decided to join us. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And if you missed the first hour of the show, you can always get our podcast at Civic Media's website. So go to civicmedia.us. That's the correct website. Yes, it is. So go there, listen to the podcast. You never have to miss any of the wit and wisdom that pours out of our head holes onto your radio eardrums. So I make that sound as gross as possible so that people will go, I have to see what that's all about.
You can also stay connected with the app. Right?
Oh, there's an app.
Listen
on the
an
app.
You can listen to any of the stations. You can download the app for free at your Google Store, your Apple Store. So go grab that if you haven't already.
We are so high-tech and accessible. There's no way that you should be missing
with
out
the
on us.
.us. We have to be different with the .us.
Fight the power. Big internet trying to get us to .com or .org. We say no. We
no,
shan't.
We are not doing that. We are not doing that.
To the... Anyway, you want to get involved, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Do I say it fast? Yes, listen faster. 855-75-CIVIC. All right, here's the question. Where do you get your news? We know you get it here on Civic Media. Sure. We try to give you the facts as we can research them. But, you know, people watch the news. I still, and this will shock the boy Aquarium, I still like to watch the nightly news.
Sure.
My local news, I watch David Muir on the network. And I like to read the papers. Now, I go online versions of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of big news organizations in this country, the New York Times, of course, the paper of record, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and then you move into all your local papers, and those used to be the bastions of journalism. You know, when you heard the Washington Post, you thought, oh, Woodward and Bernstein, these guys are breaking Watergate. The investigative reporting is there. We can trust the news that comes out of here because those are journalists who have devoted their whole life to this. And there are still journalists who are devoting their whole lives to it.
Right.
Unfortunately, the places where they can ply their trade are shrinking. And yesterday, the Washington Post became another one of those places because they laid off roughly 1 in 3 employees yesterday. It marked one of the most severe cutbacks in the newspaper's history. It pushed an already strained newsroom to the breaking point. Jamie, it's sad news when,
It is.
You know, economics, if that's all it is.
And here I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is at all because Jeff Bezos, we saw this during the election when he refused to publish his editorial board's opinion of who people should vote for and essentially pulled the endorsement for Kamala Harris from the people who wrote it on his staff. He has been towing the line of politics versus staying alive in essentially. I mean, he's a billionaire, but I'm saying staying alive as far as the mediaverse goes. And who wants to rile up the president and have him go after you? Nobody wants that right now, right? So no, I don't believe that this had to do with the economics of it all, even though that's what they're going to say. And what I also love is Jeff Bezos is no better than anybody else in corporate media. The employees learned of the cuts after being told to stay home while the layoff notices were being sent. And that followed weeks of warning, though, that deep reductions were coming. In fact, the executive editor, his name is Matt Murray, he acknowledged the scope of the cuts in an internal memo saying that nearly all news departments were being affected. And it really did, Brian, affect a lot.
It took a whack out of most of the paper.
Yeah.
The sports section is almost non-existent anymore. And who doesn't? When you were little, it was the funnies and the sports section.
Of course.
And that's how a lot of people learned to read.
Right.
Is by looking at their parents' newspaper, going, "Oh, what did the Badgers do last night?"
Right. Exactly. And here's the thing I'll say: while this is sad happening on the national level to a news organization, as you said, a bastion on the hill, while this is sad happening to this organization, this has already been happening on your local level for years. And there are certain newspapers in the country and certain areas that absolutely do not have any sort of actual local news coming to them from reporters in that area. And Wisconsin is one of the prime areas where this is happening. There are places in this state that literally have a newspaper office that's open for 2 hours twice a week. That's it.
And if you go to the websites of some of these papers, you go, "Oh, they all look the same." Yes, because they're all owned by the same company. You're getting a majority of the same news. The small papers, like you were mentioning, Jamie, have either gone away or are reprinting stuff from wire services and maybe something about a local board meeting, maybe. It's hard to find good journalism. And I know this administration has been talking, and in the first term too, fake news was the thing. And that's another gaslighting move to try to sow doubt in your mind about what you're seeing, and anything I don't agree with is fake. And so it's hard. And Jeff Bezos wants to maintain that relationship he has with the White House. Now, I want to ask you, Jamie, you've worked in newsrooms before. You've been a journalist for a long time. Is access more important than ethics? That seems to be the question I keep having when I watch these reporters allow Caitlin Collins to be dressed down. When I see the other journalists allow the president to call somebody little piggy on a plane when they dare to ask a question. I know as a news organization, you want access. We saw when AP had to fight when they were going to be thrown out because AP, one of the most non-biased news organizations you could ever ask for, they were going to get tossed because they asked questions, and the president didn't like that. The administration didn't like that. So my question is access more important than ethics?
I will say that obviously I've been in news for quite some time. I go back to the early 2000s when I started my career and ended up producing my first 5 p.m. newscast. I think it's changed. Ethics used to be the most important. Ethics were absolutely where you drew the line. I can honestly say that the GM who hired me right out of college, I had no business producing a 5 p.m. show. He saw something in me. He gave me that slot. He would not have ever, even though he could be an abysmal human being, he would have never allowed one of his reporters, female or male, to be dressed down by any official like that. And he would have told us that it was not worth covering if that was going to happen to us. I can honestly say that because it actually happened to us in the city that I was producing news. Okay. He actually pulled us from that beat and said, until they can treat you with respect, we will not be covering that anymore. I have
the danger there, and I admire that move by him. The danger in this situation, in the current situation, is where do we draw the line? Where if nobody is watching, we see what they're doing when everybody's watching.
Right.
So if nobody's watching, but at the same point, if we're watching as casual bystanders instead of actively trying to get to the bottom of things or pointing out the illegalities.
Yep. And I think
which
that's
is
where
worse.
the switch came. I think that's where the switch came from the ethics to the access, because news is also competing with the social media world, right? We have somebody over on our socials right now who's watching us, pointing out that anyone with a camera or a Wi-Fi connection can report the news. The more sensational it is, the more viral it will go. And that's exactly what's happening because, in my opinion anyway, news is being forced to take a different turn than it's ever had to because people are going to social media and things are being more sensationalized. So it changes where the ethics go because, you mentioned it during Watergate. Can you imagine Bernstein getting dressed down by the president?
No.
And then no, he wouldn't have, and they wouldn't have also never stopped covering it because the president got upset. They would have
Because
never
Nixon was furious at everybody.
Right.
And they didn't
Right.
care. They kept investigating the story.
And by the way, Congress also did their job in that too, but I digress.
Well, let's not. Why drag Congress into an argument? We've been talking about papers,
Yes.
and Dick has been hanging on. He's in
Yes.
Madison. He called 855-75-CIVIC. Dick, welcome to the show.
Guys, you just hammered it out of the park. The small papers across the state, across the country, are collapsing are the reason we're in the mess we're in my opinion. I mean, it's quite obvious. And, where do I get most of my news? I love the stuff you're talking about, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I watch pretty much MSNBC, and they brought over a guy, from AP, Jonathan Lemire, years back, who asked Trump a question during that Helsinki debacle of his in first term. And he's one of their better people that's on in the morning, in my opinion. And AP, like you said, is nothing but just straight up fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
Thank you so much
we
this
like
morning.
MSNBC, but we'd rather you listen in to us, Dick. We appreciate the call.
Yes.
Thanks very much for doing that. So it's this quandary that we're in where do we risk as journalists being banished, or do we just stand there and watch? And I have to imagine the other reporters in that room who have any sort of ethical compass are watching the president talk to people like this and realizing, one, it seems to be mostly directed at female reporters, and two, it is just out of the realm of normal decorum. Nobody talks to people like that, let alone the president of the United States talking to an accredited member of the free press.
What I think is interesting is that nobody else is calling it out. This happened during the first administration, and what I think is troubling and sad and frustrating, especially if you've been in this business long enough, is that we have become okay with it. We've been okay with him dressing down a female reporter. We've become okay with him calling a female reporter piggy. Now, we talk about it in the sense that as soon as it happened and everybody brings it up, but nobody's actually doing anything about it. Nobody's actually taking the time to say, this is not, we're not going to continue to report on the things that you're doing or air your words until you can address us. And I honestly don't think it would matter with this administration. I think that's probably what they want, because they want their chosen networks, the more right-wing leaning networks, to come in and cover the news. And if nobody points out that the emperor has no clothes, the emperor can do whatever they want. That's
and
right.
That's basically where we're at. When now we've got journalists being arrested.
Yes.
It is, as somebody who's been in, listen, I'm not a newsman by any stretch of the imagination, but I have hosted talk shows for decades talking about things because I know I am free to talk about things.
Yes.
I can read the newspaper knowing this is not state information or disinformation being pushed down my throat.
Right. We've got Al over on our text line listening on WMDX, says the AP today is what Walter Cronkite was back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most accurate.
Because you can trust AP, and everybody trusted Walter Cronkite.
Right. And, this is why I think local media is so important. Going back to that point, You got to get your facts. You got to know what's happening on your local level, because that's where the real impact in your life is going to come. We have to be informed, and without that local media, it becomes really, really difficult and dangerous. 7:19 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Come for the cheese. Stay because your car won't start.
This is Chad Spate. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chad's Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad's Design Build, remodeling done well with love.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute. If you are working to get out of debt, a credit counselor might help. You can find a trustworthy one through the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. They're called the NFCC. They have certified nonprofit counselors in all 50 states. They usually start with a financial checkup about your income, your bills, your spending, your debt, and then they help you make a budget and a plan. Now, sometimes they might recommend a debt management plan, which helps you pay off what you owe. And most folks pay about $35 a month for debt management. You can search the Work Money website at workmoney.org, or you can go to the National Foundation for Credit Counseling website. You just want to make sure that whatever advice you take or whatever service you pay for, that it helps you pay off your debt in full with lower interest rates and reduced monthly payments. So if you're feeling stuck, you've got some options. A good, trustworthy credit counselor might help you find the path forward to keep you on track. To learn more about your money, visit workmoney.org. This is Carrie Joy saying, take good care.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build...
15 seconds until we're back.
I just want to keep listening to the music. It's 7:22 right now. That's such a great song.
Can we have a musical interlude in the show? Just
I like that idea. We could do it on Fridays, kind of decompress.
Just a montage of all of our favorites. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Here's a question for you at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. And yes, I don't know why I framed it by telling you it's a question. I'm going to ask, and you're going to hear the inflection in my voice. And in your mind, you will see the question mark at the end of the sentence. But how do you feel about this idea of nationalizing our elections? We've been talking about it for the last few days, which, again, this is not new. Something we never thought we'd have to talk about. But we do. Good news, and listen, I don't throw Ron Johnson flowers very often. Usually, I hold the bouquet and think about striking people with them. But today, I'm going to throw him a couple flowers. Partial. They're going to be little. They're not. It's not the whole bouquet. You might get one or two, because Ron Johnson has said that he disagrees with the president and his suggestion that Republicans should nationalize elections. He made these comments during a telephone town hall Tuesday, when he was asked about the president's recent remarks on that. That's a nice start, Jamie?
Yes, it is. And let me be the first to say that it won't shock anybody that I listened to the entire hour and a half town hall, just to see what he had to say. Because there were conversations about multiple subjects in this, coming from constituents, coming from reporters. So he was really forced to answer. There were a couple of times when, as we were talking about, if you joined us last segment about media, where he essentially dressed down some of the female reporters.
That's becoming way too normalized.
It is. It really, truly is. But what I found interesting is that, if you've been following along, Trump said that a Republican should take over voting in at least 15 places. So far, he hasn't specified which states or municipalities. He's repeated these unfounded claims that undocumented immigrants were being brought to the U.S. to vote, despite voting being limited to U.S. citizens. Like, you actually have to be a U.S. citizen in order to cast a vote. But facts, I digress. Johnson said that he does not support federal control of elections, but favors basic national standards like citizenship requirements over voter ID. This was his quick response yesterday. Cut 3, please.
First of all, I do not want to see us nationalizing elections. I do believe it's fitting and proper to set some basic standards for federal elections.
That was pretty much all he said.
Okay.
It was short, but it was very much out of line with what the president so far has been saying he would like to do. Now, he did go on in this particular town hall, Brian, to criticize Wisconsin's early in-person absentee voting, saying that the state has gone way too far by allowing people who don't have access immediately to polls or are disabled or senior citizens. We have allowed them way too much power in this state to cast a vote. And darn those drop boxes, darn them.
Oh, the bane of our existence is that, yes, it's ruined the whole thing. The fact that now more people can cast a vote, that's not how this system was set up. One person, one vote, that's hogwash. One person, one vote, if you can get off of work during this particular day and find out what school or church or gymnasium that your polling place is and navigate all of that and then get there. Come on. I used to be one of these guys who waited till election day. I was very staunch. I wait till election day. I didn't care what anybody else did. If they needed to vote early, whatever. Now it's so convenient. Which is why I'm so amazed that voter turnout is still so low. They couldn't make it easier for us to vote. I went, I think last election, I went like 3 or 4 days before election day. I strolled right in, bang, I voted. And you know what? I didn't even worry. I got the receipt. I saw it counted in the machine. I knew my vote counted, and I walked out happy. Put on my sticker. That was it.
There's no reason to make voting harder. Voting is there's no reason for it. Voting is a right that we have as U.S. citizens. It should not be made harder.
But Jamie, what if people vote against me? That if it's too easy to vote against me, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
It's not. He needed a participation trophy a couple times in life, I think. Len over on our text line from Madison saying, well, our monetary system is nationalized. How has that turned out?
I don't think I think it's a false equivalency.
I don't think
all due respect. I don't think that doesn't wash. There's a difference. And yes, the monetary system was set up so we could go from state to state. We don't want to be going to another country. Also, I would refer you back to a document called the Constitution. And I know we keep hammering on the Constitution. It's like I'm studying for. I know, and I remember in 7th grade having to take the Constitution test, and it being like, "Oh my God!"
It's just in the way. It's just in the way. It's amazing what happens when judges follow the Constitution and true attorneys follow the Constitution.
Can't we just do what we want?
Totally in the way. Now, by the way, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has also echoed Johnson's stance, saying he is not in favor of federalizing elections due to the constitutional concerns, by the way. So funny.
What are those what does the Constitution say? What kind of authority over election? Who has that authority, Jamie?
The states. According to the U.S. Constitution, states have the authority over elections, though Congress can set certain regulations. But it is the states that run their elections. Hey, it's why you have local election offices, why you have people who election poll workers. That is why, because the states are in charge, and each precinct is also in charge of their election under the state jurisdiction. That is how this works. This is. It really bothers me when people.
That doesn't seem right.
I get really upset when we start talking about just dismantling the Constitution, because you can't do it based on a whim and what suits your needs. There's a process that even is in place to dismantle certain amendments or add certain amendments. So I get really upset.
But Jamie, listen, I feel there is a lot of fraud. So we need to usurp the Constitution.
Well, we'll just start searching all the warehouses. It's fine. 7:29 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. It's the Civic Media Radio Network.
The cost to eat out these days remains a little bit more affordable thanks to Wisconsin potatoes. I'm Pam Yankee. Now, from the Rural Mutual Insurance Farm News Desk, here's what's happening on a Thursday. Wisconsin potato and vegetable growers are continuing their annual convention in Stevens Point today. R.J. Harvey is the culinary director for Potatoes USA. He works with major food chains across the United States like Chili's and Olive Garden, making sure potatoes are a part of their essential ingredients on the menu. Why? He said aside from the taste, it's the value.
So we know in order to drive volume, it's important for us to look at the volume drivers when it comes to the food service landscape. So, the Chili's of the world or the TGI Fridays or Olive Garden and so forth, those are the companies that are really using lots of volume. When we tap into their chefs, we not only want to understand their brand identity and how potatoes play a role on their menus, but also to give them good selling points as to why they would want to incorporate potatoes on their menu. Potatoes are a very cost-effective vegetable, and so they work very well on menus where chefs are trying to reduce food costs, but they also play really well when you look at all the different processed potato products across the landscape. Those can help save them on labor.
R.J. Harvey, he's the culinary director for Potatoes USA. Aside from adding value to that dining out experience, he said potatoes also serve as a powerful culinary tool for dietary restrictions. Potato flakes, for example, can be used as a gluten-free thickener or potato puree as a dairy-free cream substitute.
Did you know soybean diseases like white mold and sudden death syndrome can survive in your soil even after rotating crops? Prevention of these diseases is a constant battle, and yield loss from an infection can be devastating. The right management plan makes all the difference. Keep your beans safe this spring with Heads Up seed treatment. Heads Up guards your seed from both white mold and SDS. Stay protected and profitable by asking your seed dealer for Heads Up. Learn more at headsupst.com.
In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage and 20% better weed control, something Todd Ryan in Moravia, Iowa has seen firsthand.
I've been using Liberty for a number of years and really got along fine with it, but now we've upgraded to Liberty Ultra, and it seems like to me the burn down is quicker.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Clear, reliable efficiency. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions.
Remember, you can take us with you everywhere, every day. Download our free mobile app now. Look for Midwest Farm Report. This agribusiness update brought to you by Rural Mutual Insurance, Wisconsin only and Wisconsin strong. Find your local insurance agent at ruralmutual.com. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Pam Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza. Skip cooking. Get the hot, handcrafted pizza consistently rated Best of Madison, delivered straight to your door. SugarRiverPizza.com.
A little lingering light snow this morning. Then it's just going to be mostly cloudy today with a high right around 34 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a little bit of light snow late tonight. Our low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 35. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it's 21.
Pete Schwaba.
Heinz ketchup has to be stopped. They have the keg chup now for Super Bowl parties that they're pushing. The 114 ounces or something like that. And then they had remember, it was the ketchup smoothie, Conrad.
Oh.
They had the horrible ketchup smoothie. And then they've also got ketchup smoothie. Oh, ranch ketchup. Enough ranch. We can be done with ranch. It's a fine product, but it's gotten into everything. There are people dipping ranch in ranch, and it's wrong.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
15 seconds until we're back.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. We're glad you're with us. Spread the word. Tell all your friends and then get involved in the program. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842, and take us with you with the Civic Media app because we're space age like that.
We are space age
app.
like that.
We
like to be with the current times.
I love apps. I do. I listen to a lot of things on the apps.
What I love about our app, a little sales pitch here.
Oh,
what
let's
I love
hear it.
about our app is all of the stations are listed. So whether you want to listen to political talk, whether you want to listen to country music, whether you want to do some adult hits, it's all on there. We've even got oldies on there. So check it out sometime. There's a plethora of things for you to choose from because I don't know if you know this, but we're kind of a big deal. We've got like 30 stations across the state. So,
Bad. That's not bad. And we're on a bunch of them. Thanks to everybody who's listening along the network this morning. All right. Listen, I don't even know if we're going to need this information because we don't know if we're going to have elections in November. But there's some as of today, there are midterm elections scheduled.
Right.
And there's elections that could throw the balance of power in the U.S. Senate from Republican-held control to Democratic because it is rather thin at this point. The Republicans hold a very, very small lead in the House. They have 53 seats in the Senate. Mm-hmm. And so, Jamie, you have found and deciphered through all your meticulous research races that may decide control of the Senate. And it's not just like we've been talking a lot about it. People have been theorizing that, well, it could be a blue tsunami just rolling through. But there's some places where that may not be as easy as we hope.
So let's be very clear here. The election map is very Republican friendly. And so, which could potentially outweigh any sort of difficult political environment for the Republicans and some of the current actions from the Trump administration. So this map actually makes some of this a bit of a steep climb because the Democrats would need to flip 4 different seats to take control of the Senate. And Democrats are defending key seats currently in Georgia and Michigan, both states that the president won in 2024. While their best pickup opportunities happen to be in Maine and North Carolina. Now, party leaders are saying that they must win all 4 to have a realistic shot at the majority, also meaning they have to make that pickup and they can't lose any. So that's going to be a little trickier than everybody thinks. And I get the blue tsunami talk, but we also have to look at it in a little bit more realistic terms if you're somebody who likes to follow these things. So Republicans
Do we know anybody like that?
just maybe a few. So Republicans are betting the map, and Trump's policy agenda is going to carry them through. Democrats really hoping that there's voter frustration over the economy and cost of living issues are giving them a little bit momentum. Now, polling shows that Democratic voters currently are more motivated Although Republicans face a bit of a similar challenge, turning out the Trump-aligned voters without his name on the ballot. And if you were listening to the program the first hour, we actually talked about that in regards to J.D. Vance and his popularity within the party. Now, beyond the top-tier races, Democrats really see longer shot opportunities in places like, which I find fascinating, Alaska, Ohio, Texas, and even Iowa. Republicans will be defending those open seats and also navigating some really high-stakes primaries of their own. 9 months ago, just 9 months ago, which, I mean, 9 months ago, think back to that 9 months ago. I can't even remember what I was doing 9 months ago. That's how crazy life has been.
It was like May?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, something
May.
like that.
The world seems so
spring.
easy.
It was nice.
Jeez,
yes.
that's when I started here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So both parties 9 months ago agreed that the economy will be the dominant issue. That was just 9 months ago. Turnout, though, candidate quality and unexpected events could also ultimately decide control of the Senate.
Are you,
now,
Jamie, when you say cost of living in the economy, are you talking about affordability? Because I've heard that's a made-up term.
Well, yes, and tariffs don't exist, or they don't actually affect
Okay.
you. It's fine. I mean, these are things that we're being told to watch. Now, if you're somebody who pays attention to elections, and it becomes kind of like your Super Bowl, present company probably included in that. There are some key toss-up stuff. I love elections; they're just so awesome. I get so nerdy and so excited about these things. But
I'm glad you do, because then we can glom onto some of your knowledge.
Right. So when we look at the key toss-up states, let's talk about Georgia really quickly. Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff is seeking re-election. Again, a state that Trump carried in 2024. He's a strong fundraiser. He's charismatic. He is campaigning on economic and healthcare issues. Republicans are facing a contested primary there, with candidates closely aligning themselves with the Trump agenda. If you go to Maine, Senator Susan Collins, she's still clutching her pearls up there, telling us that she's all but concerned. Yeah, and she is seeking re-election in a state that has voted against Trump 3 different times. Now, occasionally, we've seen her break with him and then come back to him and still support the GOP agenda. But national Republicans, you can tell that her seat is in trouble. And watch what seats the Republicans invest the most time and money in. Hers is one of them, because they're obviously worried about Democratic competition. Democrats are divided between an establishment favorite, though, Governor Janet Mills, who I believe is 78 years old at this point. And she's 78, I believe.
I know, but we can't. No.
I know.
No, I'm sorry.
But she has a progressive challenger. Graham Plantner, who is he is coming on strong. And so obviously, as you can imagine, that is making a little angst in the Democratic traditional ranks. In Michigan, there is an open seat following Senator Gary Peters' retirement, and he has triggered a competitive Democratic primary. Republicans are backing the former Representative Mike Rogers, who has Trump's full endorsement. Now, we've seen in the last couple
backfires. I would not want to be a candidate and receive the president's full endorsement.
Right. In North Carolina, the Democrats are seeing their best pickup chance. This is their best pickup chance after Tom Tillis opted not to run again. Obviously, Tom Tillis not running has given him a backbone. He's been able to stand up to the administration. Former Democratic Governor Roy Cooper has entered the race, and he has very strong approval ratings. That will be one to pay attention to. When it comes to the expansion opportunities, as I mentioned, the Democrats are targeting Alaska. Interestingly enough, they have former Representative Mary Peltola, who is potentially going to make a run at this. The state, though, always leans pretty heavily Republican if you pay attention to past elections.
Yeah.
Now, in Ohio, this is where it gets interesting, right? Because this is a man who actually was in office, lost his seat, and Ohio, of course, the home to Vice President J.D. Vance. Former Senator Sherrod Brown is seeking a comeback against GOP Senator John Huss. I think this one's going to be interesting because even Ohio is not when you watch the polling, and take it with a grain of salt, but even Ohio is starting to sour on some of these policies. And J.D. Vance is not exactly the most popular guy.
No, he's not the favored son of Ohio. And
he's not. Is he? I don't
I don't even know if he's from Ohio.
I don't think he is originally. Is he? Like, somebody correct me on the text line if I'm wrong. If you know all the background of J.D. Vance,
I don't want
please
to be a
share it with
J.D.
us.
Vance birther, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought he was from Appalachia or Appalachia.
I believe so. But if you know anything about J.D. Vance and you can correct us on the background, please do. 1-855-752-4842. 1-855-75-CIVIC. We are not above being corrected here on the morning show. Iowa also remains really difficult terrain for Democrats. Trade policy impacts on farmers could factor in. All right, Frank, our senior producer, and Parker, our tech producer, saying that he was born in Middletown, Ohio. So all right, so he's got the natural birthright. Nobody's arguing with his birth certificate.
Right, he's
Brian.
not a carpetbagger. I listen. I was not either. I didn't know, but still, I do know from much news coverage that he is not. He's not beloved, and
No.
our producer Frank doesn't like the fact that he went to Ohio State.
Well, I mean,
Buckeye
is that
fever.
That should be the only reason we have a dissenting opinion on J.D. Vance.
No.
Let's be realistic.
No, there's a lot of reasons to hold
Right.
him in less than
Yes.
high regard.
Now, I will say this when it comes to these expansion opportunities. I think Iowa is also going to be interesting, only because you had Senator Joni Ernst, who said she would not run again after she basically told her constituents that they were all going to die, and she was okay with that.
Mhm.
Remember the Medicaid
That was
debacle?
beautiful, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're all going to die.
Yeah,
Right,
and
okay.
there are some really great candidates in Iowa, so I think that's going to be a really interesting race. Now, I haven't seen, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I did a little digging into this last night. I couldn't find where anybody in Iowa, had jumped into on the Republican side a full throttle yet for that Ernst seat. So if I'm wrong, I want to know about it, and then I get to do a little research of my own. So please correct me if you know something I don't, at least on the Republican side. Now, Texas could be competitive depending on the outcome of the GOP and the Democratic primaries. We already saw just last weekend that plus 17 Trump district flip in a special election. So I don't know if I never want to say, because it's Texas, right? And they are
Right.
solidly a red voting state. But at the same time, is all of Texas districts safe? Is this why the GOP in Texas is pushing so hard for redistricting to essentially
Yes.
rid people of the right to choose their representative, because they know in some districts how that's going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I go back to, right?
Makes sense. We got a text. This is interesting, and I know you'll find it interesting. Roger in Stevens Point sent us a text, and you can too, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Roger says he was on a short road trip yesterday, Jamie, and Civic Media Mornings was also on in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR.
Yes.
So shout out to Wisconsin Rapids, who is not on my list, but listen, I've been there.
We are
happy
we are
to
still,
have you.
We are on the mornings there right now. So
Fantastic.
yes.
Good.
So great little area, great town.
And Mark, who lives in Prairie du Sac, says, if I lived in Alaska, I might worry about Trump gifting Alaska to Russia. Yeah, maybe
Well-
maybe they decide it's not worth the risk, and then they vote
Yeah.
Democratic for
Yeah.
a change, a little bit.
So there's going to be some other races to watch as we go through this midterm cycle. There's some open seats in Minnesota and New Hampshire. They're expected to stay Democratic, but they're being closely monitored. We saw that with the conversation of Governor Walz stepping down. Amy Klobuchar has now thrown her hat into the ring. You have Tina Smith in Minnesota. So there's going to be a lot to watch, and then especially with the climate. There's some high-profile primaries in Kentucky, Illinois, Louisiana, and Massachusetts that could shift a broader, could signal a broader shift within the parties. And then with 9 months until Election Day, because yes, folks, 9 months until Election Day, both parties are still agreeing that the economy is going to dominate the debate. But turnout, candidate quality, some late-breaking events, because who knows what the Trump administration will do to help out his own party within 9 months, could all shift things quite dramatically. So it's going to be fun. buckle up, folks. It's going to be a good time.
It's
Super Bowl of politics right here.
prepare for the onslaught of commercials
That's right.
and mudslinging.
They're already started. They've already
Yes, they
started.
have.
I've been seeing them
Oh.
all morning. 748 Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's real news and great conversation. And home for Nightlight with Peach Waba. Weekday evenings from 6 to 8.
Tax season is here. Ramos Tax and Services has been saving you money for over 25 years. Locally owned, open year-round. Get $20 off business and $10 off personal returns. 608-442-8170 or visit 658 South Gammon Road.
Join me, Tom Hartman, each and every weekday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program right here on Civic Media. I talk about the issues that all Wisconsinites can get behind, from unrigging our economy so it works for all of us, not just the billionaire class, to improving our representative government, to delivering on the promise of we the people. Tune in middays right here on your local Civic Media station from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program. Tag, you're it.
Is there an issue that's important to you? Would you like the President of the United States to know how you feel? Why not call the White House comment line? The number is 202-456-1111. The White House comment line is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Standard phone rates may apply. You may also send an e-message to the President at whitehouse.gov/contact, a public service message from the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
From the Capitol to your kitchen table, Madison's biggest stories live right here on 92.7 WMDX.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? My name's Joel Clayfish, and this show is all about the great outdoors of the great Midwest. I have the joy of steering the ship across every lake in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Ellie Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone...
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
Right now, you're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. This is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. What snack are you stocking up for in advance of the big game? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Good news, some of them will be a little more affordable.
Ooh,
yes,
we like that.
here comes the affordability. The affordability word, but I don't want to... Listen, I don't want to sully snack foods and politics.
Right.
They need to stay in their own silos, to use some corporate speak. And I noticed this yesterday, but the reason I'm bringing this up, Jamie, is because PepsiCo is cutting prices on many of their popular snacks ahead of the Super Bowl. But they are also saying it is not just short-term. These are long-term price reductions. Now, they're not a lot, maybe 15% on a lot of their
Sure.
products, but it's stuff like Cheetos, Doritos, Lay's potato chips,
So they
all
know
Pepsi
what we
snacks.
need. So what they essentially know is that in this time of political strife, we need snack foods to help us cope. And they're making sure that our pocketbooks can handle the amount that we're going to be consuming. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, and I'm wondering where the problem comes in with that. I am going to strap
didn't say
on.
there was a
I'm
problem.
going to
I just
strap
wanted to clear it
Doritos on
up.
like a feed bag and just wander around to try to dull my senses with all of this that's going on. So here's an example of the cuts. An 8.5 ounce bag of Doritos is going to drop from $6.29, which is insane,
insane,
to $5.49, which is just a little mentally disturbed.
Here's my other problem with this. Okay, you get one of those little 8.5 ounce. There's like 4 chips in there. Why are
Jamie,
they
I don't know
charging
if
me $1 a chip?
Because it's by weight, not volume, Jamie. I don't know how many times you have to read that on the bag. This is you open a bag, you go, there's
$1
just
a
dust in
chip.
here. That's a lot of dust. It's very heavy dust. It's weight, not volume. You need the air to cushion theoretically all the chips so that they don't smash and get all crumbly. And yet you open the bag and all it's in there, and you're like, what are you? Were you using this as asphalt? Everything
Right.
is, especially regular chips.
Yeah. Tom from Hartford chiming in, listening on WMDX this morning, just says Cheetos. Yes.
Yes,
So I'm
very
going
excited.
to assume that he is giving us his stance on Cheetos. I love Cheetos. They make my fingers orange though, and you can't eat them without your fingers turning
Well,
orange.
all of these Doritos, kind of the same thing, not to the extent that,
Right.
that Cheetos do. My wife, when she's sick, this is how we've joked that I am the eye roll husband, that I do things when I don't really have to. Years and years ago, when we first met, my wife told me that when she's sick, she loves the puffed Cheetos.
Oh,
just
those
the
are
puffed
great.
ones, right?
Yeah.
So if she's really sick and I happen to be at the
Aw.
store, I bring them home.
That's so nice.
Is
If you
it,
don't go to
or
the
is it
store,
just
she's
me
out of
not
luck.
wanting? I just don't want her to hear her whining. So
could
if
be
she's
that
eating
too.
Cheetos, she's not whining.
Marriage is always about towing the line. It's
That's
about
right.
being that really nice spouse, or like, oh, how much longer do I have to endure this? Right?
Right.
Listen to it. Yes.
It's
Alicia
the
chiming
illusion
in.
of being thoughtful and
Yes.
acting in your own self-interest at the same
Yes.
time.
Alicia chiming in over on our text line, or on our socials, I should say, saying now we need gym memberships to be on major sale. Yes, you're not wrong about that.
Big
Now-
snack and big fitness are not working together, Alicia. Those are the two forces that are battling each other here. Do you want a snack or do you want to get in shape?
Well, you can do both in moderation, I suppose.
Of course.
I don't do anything in moderation, so I that doesn't apply to me. PepsiCo says that the product size, the quality, and the taste will remain absolutely the same. So they're not going to change that, and they're still going to only give you 5 chips, but it's fine. The
Weight, not
company
volume.
is
Weight, not. I'm going to hammer that point.
The company is also looking to boost weak North American sales after they had to raise prices faster than their competitors in recent years. So please don't mistake this for them being very kind and cordial to you. Retailers, by the way, set the final prices, but PepsiCo expects savings to be reflected in the stores. Now, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Since they're doing this right before the Super Bowl, and I know tomorrow we're going to have some conversations.
Super
you
fun.
want to be listening because we're going to give some stuff away tomorrow. Okay, so be listening tomorrow. All right.
We are not above bribing you
no,
to listen.
Employees cannot win.
Shoot.
But
Back in
we're
the
going
aquarium.
to be giving some stuff away. So listen tomorrow for the Super Bowl. I have to ask though, do you have a favorite Super Bowl snack that is on this list or not on this list?
Well, I've been trying not to eat as many snacks, but I will say, yesterday I was going through the local grocery store flyers, and Doritos are on sale. There will be Doritos in play.
Nice.
Here on Sunday. Other than that, usually we'll make like a buffalo chicken dip is a big one here.
Okay.
We enjoy that. But yeah, there will definitely be Doritos.
Well, I picked a really awful week to start an intermittent fast.
Yeah, how's that going to go on Sunday?
Well, probably just the same as it has. But I did start an intermittent fast, so I'm down to the 5 to 6 ounces of protein twice a day, 2 cups of veggies, and a cup of fruit. It's going very well for anybody who's wondering.
Good.
I have lost 8 pounds in 3 days. Mostly water weight, as my 19-year-old will always point out.
Always
Because,
point out.
in other words, Mom, don't get too full of yourself. Like, you're not doing that great. But in our
I think
house...
it is great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In those, for Super Bowl Sunday, I will have a lot of mini cucumbers for me to eat because that is very much part of an intermittent fast. Maybe some baby carrots. There will be more snacks for the husband and the
What do they
young
demand?
adult children. Really anything that I set in front of them.
Okay.
My
Yes.
family is not picky like that. We're going to have turkey meatballs in the slow cooker, though, with the teriyaki sauce.
Nice.
All compatible with my fast, by the way. So, yes.
It's
and
nice
some,
of you to make them. I might have, now that you brought it up, I may have to make some meatballs.
Yeah. Oh, I've got some recipes for you. Let me
All
tell
right.
you.
That would
I
be
love
good.
a good slow cooker. We're also going to have some pepper jack loaded cauliflower.
I gotta get that
right?
recipe too.
Yes, yes.
So it's gonna be fun. And listen, it's one of those days where I know it's coming, and I'm gonna enjoy myself. And then Monday I'll beat myself up. But tomorrow we will be back, Jamie.
Yes, we will. At least that's what they tell us anyway. So it's 7:59 right now. This is Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Thanks for listening and being part of the program. Thanks to everybody who called and texted today. Tell your friends we're here. Get the app, download the podcast. Have a good time. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you bright and early tomorrow. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.